Professor Vin stood at the front of the lecture hall, all four of his eye stalks trembling with what he considered barely contained enthusiasm. And today was the day. The day he got to terrify a fresh batch of Academy students with the horrors of Class 12 Deathworlds. He loved this lecture. Settle down, Vin announced, his voice translator crackling slightly. Welcome to Extreme Environment Survival, course code 479. I am Professor Vin, and I have spent the last 60 cycles studying the most hostile, aggressive, nightmarish planets in charted space. He paused for effect, watching the students shift nervously in their seats. Today we begin with an overview of what makes a world truly deadly. The lecture hall, a massive curved space that could accommodate 500 students from 70 different species, hummed with nervous energy. Vin could smell the fear pheromones from at least a dozen species. Excellent. Duh. In the back row, tucked away like she was trying to be invisible, sat the strangest student Vin had seen in his 30 years of teaching. A bipedal creature with barely any protective covering, just some fabric wrapped around her flesh. She had only 2 eyes. 2. How did anything survive with such limited visual range? Her species file said she was called a human, from some backwater planet that had only recently made contact with the Galactic Federation. Vin pulled up his first hologram. A planet rotated slowly in the air, glowing red with angry storm systems. This, he said dramatically, is Krell 9. Atmospheric pressure 7 times standard, gravity 3 times standard, surface temperature averaging 400 degrees, constant volcanic activity, acid rain that can dissolve most metals in under 3 minutes. He looked out at the sea of horrified faces. And yet, life exists there. Hostile, aggressive, murderous life. The Floraxian in the front row made a squeaking noise and fainted. Vin made a note to check on them later. Now, what makes a planet classify as a Class 12 Deathworld? Vin continued, warming to his subject. Let me list the criteria. First, gravity between 2 and 4 times standard. In the back row, the human, Harper Vale according to his roster, shifted slightly. Her hand started to rise, then fell back down. Vin noticed but continued. Second, atmospheric content that is either toxic, corrosive, or requires specialized breathing apparatus for most species. Harper's hand twitched again. She bit her lip, which Vin found odd, as he did not understand the gesture. Third, the presence of what we call megafauna. These are predatory species weighing over 500 kilograms that actively hunt prey. Harper's hand went up halfway, then she seemed to think better of it and lowered it again. Several of her classmates had noticed now, their various appendages turning to stare at her. Fourth, Vin said, really getting into it now, regular catastrophic weather events. Hurricanes, typhoons, electrical storms with enough power to kill most species instantly. Harper's hand shot up, stayed up for 2 full seconds, then slowly descended. She looked like she was in physical pain. Fifth, extreme temperature variations. We are talking about environments where the temperature can swing by over 50 degrees in a single rotation. The human's hand went up and stayed up this time. She was half standing, her face twisted in an expression Vin could not quite read. Was that pain? Confusion? Indigestion? Yes, Vin asked, slightly annoyed at being interrupted during his favorite part. Miss Vale, is it? Do you have a question? Harper stood fully, and Vin noticed that despite her species' lack of obvious physical advantages, she moved with a fluid grace that was almost predatory. It's concerning. I'm sorry, Professor, Harper said, and her voice had a strange quality to it. But I need to stop you right there. The entire lecture hall went silent. You did not interrupt Professor Vin during his Deathworld lecture. It simply was not done. Excuse me? Vin said, his eye stalks drawing back defensively. You are describing my childhood, Harper said flatly. The silence stretched. Someone coughed. A Zentari in the middle row dropped their datapad, and the clatter echoed like a bomb in the quiet. I'm sorry, Vin said slowly. Could you repeat that? Harper gestured at the hologram of Krell 9, which was still rotating ominously in the center of the room. The gravity thing? Earth is 1.0. That's standard for us. Atmospheric content? Yeah, we breathe oxygen. It's, everywhere. 21% of our air. The megafauna? She laughed, and it was not a comfortable sound. Professor, we have animals that weigh over 6,000 kilograms. They eat plants, mostly, but we also have predators that hunt in packs and can run at speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour. Vin felt a cold sensation spreading through his thorax. That is, I must inform you, quite impossible. Catastrophic weather? Harper continued, and now she was grinning, which displayed her teeth. Vin noticed they were flat in the back, but disturbingly pointed in the front. We have storms that can level entire cities, spinning vortexes of wind that rip buildings off their foundations. We even named them. Hurricanes, tornadoes, cyclones. We have a whole classification system. A plebe student near the front made a whimpering sound and began to edge toward the exit. And temperature variations? Harper was on a roll now. In some parts of my planet, you can experience a 70-degree swing in a single day. Freezing at dawn, hot enough to cook food on rocks by midday. Vin's translator was making a stuttering sound. Miss Vale, are you telling me that your home planet is a Class 12 Deathworld? I don't know your classification system, Harper said with a shrug. But based on what you just described? Yeah, probably. That is absurd, Vin said, but his voice lacked conviction. Sentient species cannot evolve on Class 12 Deathworlds. The hostile conditions would prevent the development of higher brain functions. Resources would be too scarce to support large populations. The constant survival pressures would make civilization impossible. Harper looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, in a perfectly calm voice, we have 8 billion people on Earth, Professor. We have had civilization for over 10,000 years. We have art, music, literature, mathematics, and we split the atom about a century ago. Also, we went to our moon using computers less powerful than the calculator on my datapad. The plebe student successfully made it to the exit and fled. Vin's primary eye stalk focused on his datapad, frantically pulling up the file on Earth. The coordinates loaded. The planetary data loaded. And then he saw it. Classification, unrated, pending review. Warning, preliminary scans indicate extreme caution advised. Note, first contact species. Cultural integration in progress. Oh no, Vin said quietly. Oh yes, Harper replied, sitting back down. Vin decided to push forward. He was a professional, after all. Well, be that as it may, let us continue. Perhaps your planet is an outlier, an exception. Let me show you what truly dangerous wildlife looks like. He pulled up a new hologram, a massive creature with 8 legs, dripping venom, and mandibles the size of his torso appeared floating above the students. Several screamed. This is a Krell widow, Vin said, native to the aforementioned Krell 9. Its venom can kill most species in under 30 seconds. It hunts by ambush, hiding in the volcanic rocks, and can jump up to 20 times its body length. It is considered one of the most dangerous predators in known space. Harper's hand went up again. Vin closed all 4 eyes briefly. Yes, Miss Vale? We have those, Harper said cheerfully. You most certainly do not, Vin said. No, I mean, not that exact species, obviously, but we have spiders on Earth. 8 legs, venom, ambush predators. The whole package. We have ones that can kill humans too, and scorpions. Those have 8 legs and venom, and, oh, a tail with a stinger. Plus all the snakes. So many venomous snakes. A Floraxian, a different one from before, fainted. This was becoming a pattern. Snakes? A brave Zentari student asked. Legless reptiles, Harper explained. Some of them have venom too. They can unhinge their jaws to swallow prey larger than their heads. We have hundreds of species. And you just, what, coexist with these creatures? The Zentari looked like he was regretting his choice of electives. Well, we try to avoid them, but yeah, basically. I mean, my grandmother had a spider infestation in her garage once. She just swept them out with a broom. A broom, Vin repeated. It's a cleaning implement. You know bristles on a stick? Very low tech. Vin decided he needed to regain control of his lecture. Moving on. Let us discuss environmental hazards. Specifically, let us talk about plate tectonics and seismic activity. He pulled up a new image, showing a planet splitting apart along fault lines, with massive volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. Worlds with active tectonic plates are incredibly dangerous. The constant shifting of continental masses creates earthquakes that can measure up to magnitude 9 on the standard scale. These quakes can cause tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and mass extinction events. Harper's hand crept up. Miss Vale, Vin said tiredly, please tell me Earth does not have active tectonic plates. Okay, Harper said agreeably. Really? Really? No, I mean, okay, I won't tell you. But yeah, we totally have tectonic plates. 7 major ones, plus a bunch of smaller ones. The Pacific Ring of Fire is particularly active. We get earthquakes all the time. The big ones, like magnitude 8 or 9, those can level entire cities. And the tsunamis. She shook her head. Walls of water over 30 meters tall, traveling at hundreds of kilometers per hour. Wipe out coastlines in minutes. A group of aquatic students from Hydros 3 made gurgling sounds of distress and began to flee toward the exit in a wave. And you just built cities anyway? Another student asked, sounding genuinely confused. But where else were we going to put them? Harper asked reasonably. The whole planet has tectonic activity. But we just, develop building codes, engineering standards. Earthquake-resistant architecture. That kind of thing. Vin was beginning to understand why the human had been placed in the back row. Whoever had processed her academy admission had known. They had known and had not warned him. Fine, Vin said. Fine. Let us discuss atmospheric hazards. Extreme weather patterns that would kill most species. Let me show you footage from a Class 11 world. The hologram shifted to show a massive swirling storm, lightning crackling through purple clouds. This storm system has winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. The lightning strikes carry enough electrical charge to power a small city. The pressure differential would crush most beings. And this storm has been active for over 200 years. Oh, like Jupiter's Great Red Spot? Harper said brightly. Vin's translator made a sound like a dying animal. I do not know what that is. Gas giant in our solar system. It has a storm that's been going for at least 350 years. We can see it from Earth with basic telescopes. Really pretty, actually. Sort of oval-shaped, hence the name. You have a gas giant in your solar system, Vin said slowly. We have 4, actually. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Saturn has these gorgeous rings made of ice and rock. Oh, and we have an asteroid belt. That's fun. And comets. Lots of comets. One killed the dinosaurs. The what now? The dinosaurs. Big reptiles that dominated Earth for about 165 million years. Then a rock from space, probably about 10 kilometers wide, smacked into the planet and caused a mass extinction event. Killed about 75% of all species. Really bad day for everyone involved. The lecture hall was now half empty. Students were leaving in a steady stream, and Vin could not even blame them. Let me get this straight, Vin said, his voice very calm in the way that beings got calm when their entire worldview was collapsing. Your planet was hit by an asteroid large enough to cause a mass extinction event, and life still survived. Oh yeah, life on Earth is super resilient. We have had 5 major extinction events, actually. The dinosaur one was just the most recent. Life, finds a way, I guess. 5. Vin said. Give or take. The Permian extinction was the worst. That one killed like 96% of all marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates. But hey, here we are. Vin sat down. He did not usually sit during lectures, but his legs felt suddenly unstable. "Professor, are you okay?" Harper asked, sounding genuinely concerned. "I am processing," Vin said. "Miss Vale, can you tell me, and please be honest, are you the exception among your species, or is this knowledge common?" Harper looked confused. "What? Earth history? I mean, we all learn this stuff in school. Basic geology, biology, meteorology. It's pretty standard education." "You teach children about mass extinction events," Vin said. "Well, yeah. How else would they understand evolution?" "Oh, by the way, Professor, do you want me to explain evolution?" "Because that's a whole thing, too. It might help explain why humans are the way we are." "No," Vin said quickly. "No, I think I have had quite enough revelations for one day." A brave student, a Talaran with beautiful iridescent scales, raised a tentacle. "Professor, if humans come from such a dangerous world, why do they look so fragile? No natural armor, no venom, no claws." Harper laughed, and several students flinched at the sound. "Oh, we have advantages, just not the obvious ones." "Such as?" the Talaran asked. "Well, we are persistence hunters for one thing. We can run for hours. Days even if we are trained. Our cooling system is really efficient. We sweat through our skin, which lets us keep going long after most predators overheat and give up. Our ancestors used to hunt prey by literally just following it until it collapsed from exhaustion." "That is horrifying," someone whispered. "We also heal crazy fast compared to most animals on Earth. Broken bones mend in weeks. We can survive injuries that would be fatal to most creatures. And we are adaptable. Put us in a desert? We figure it out. Arctic tundra? We build shelters. Jungles, mountains, islands. We have colonized pretty much every environment on the planet." "What about your technology?" Vin asked, morbidly curious now. "If your world is so hostile, your technological development must have been slow, focused purely on survival." Harper shook her head. "Actually, the opposite. The hostile environment probably pushed us to innovate faster. We went from basic stone tools to spaceflight in about 300,000 years. And we got really good at warfare along the way." "Warfare," Vin repeated. "Oh yeah, humans fight. A lot. We have had thousands of wars throughout history. World wars even, is where huge portions of the planet were fighting each other. We developed bombs that can level mountains, weapons that can strike targets from hundreds of kilometers away. We even figured out how to split atoms and make explosions that can destroy entire cities." The remaining students were now very still, staring at Harper with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Let me make sure I understand," Vin said slowly. "You are telling me that humans, who evolved on a Class 12 Deathworld, survived multiple mass extinction events, developed advanced technology including weapons of mass destruction, and are now here in this academy, learning to survive in extreme environments?" "Yes," Harper said, making it a question. "What could we possibly teach you?" Harper grinned, and Vin noticed again those unsettling teeth. "Oh, tons of stuff. I want to learn about other planets, other species, different survival strategies. Just because Earth is dangerous does not mean I know how to survive everywhere. Plus, I'm really interested in xenobiology. The variety of life in the galaxy is amazing." Vin looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to his datapad and began typing rapidly. "Professor?" Harper asked. "What are you doing?" "I am filing a report with the Academy administration," Vin said. "Specifically, I am requesting that human students be given a separate classification in all extreme environment courses." "Why?" "Because, Miss Vale, you do not need to learn how to survive in extreme environments. You already know. What you need is a course on how to survive in safe environments." Harper blinked. I don't understand. Safe environments, Vin repeated. Controlled temperatures, stable atmospheres, lack of predators, low gravity. The things that most species consider normal will likely be, for humans, dangerously comfortable. Oh, Harper said. I mean, the station is kind of weirdly peaceful. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing will go wrong, Vin assured her. That is the point. That is what makes it safe. Huh. That's going to take some getting used to. Vin looked out at the dozen or so students who had remained in the lecture hall, either out of bravery or because they were frozen in terror. Class dismissed, he said wearily. We will resume next session. And for those of you who are now terrified of Miss Vale, please remember that humans have been cleared for Federation membership. They passed all the psychological evaluations. They are not mindless killing machines, despite what their home world might suggest. Thank you, Professor, Harper said brightly, gathering her things. As she walked past him toward the exit, Vin could not help but ask, Miss Vale, one more question if you do not mind. Sure. Why did you apply to this academy? With your background, you could have attended any number of prestigious universities. Why come here, to a survival training facility? Harper paused, considering the question. Honestly, I wanted a challenge. Earth is great, but I have been there my whole life. I know how it works. I wanted to see what else was out there. Learn new things. Meet new people, or well, new beings. Push myself. You wanted a challenge, Vin said faintly. You, who comes from a Deathworld, wanted a challenge. Yeah, I mean, is that weird? Vin looked at her, this small bipedal creature with her fragile-looking skin and her unsettling teeth and her casual attitude about mass extinction events. No, he said finally. No, Miss Vale. For a human, I suspect that makes perfect sense. Welcome to the Academy. I suspect you are going to find it very interesting. Thanks, Professor. See you next session. After she left, Vin sat in the empty lecture hall for a long time, staring at his datapad. But the file on Earth was still open, and he began to read it more carefully. Average surface temperature, variable ranging from -89 to 58 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric composition, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. Oxygen, he thought. A highly reactive gas that most species needed in trace amounts at best. Humans breathed it in concentration that would be toxic to 2/3 of the Federation. He kept reading. Natural predators, lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles, various species of venomous snakes and spiders, plus numerous microorganisms capable of causing fatal infections. The list went on for 3 pages. Vin pulled up a communication channel to the Academy director. Director Kalos, he said when the connection opened. We need to talk about the human students. Professor Vin. I was wondering when you would call. I take it Miss Vale attended your lecture? She did. Director, did you know Earth is a Class 12 Deathworld? We suspected, Kalos said calmly. The classification is still being finalized, but preliminary data is, shall we say, concerning. Concerning? Director, these beings evolved in conditions that would kill most Federation species in hours. They consider volcanic eruptions and hurricanes routine weather events. They have survived multiple planetary extinction events. Yes, Kalos said, which is precisely why we admitted them to the Academy. Think about it, Vin. If humans can survive on Earth, what could they accomplish in more hospitable environments? What perspectives could they bring to our understanding of survival and adaptation? Vin was quiet for a moment. You are using them as a baseline, are you not? Partially, Kalos admitted. But also, we genuinely believe they have much to teach us. They have survived conditions we cannot even imagine. Their strategies, their resilience, their sheer stubborn refusal to give up in the face of overwhelming odds, those are valuable traits. Or terrifying ones, Vin muttered. Perhaps both, Kalos agreed. But they are here now, and they are our students. I suggest you adapt your curriculum accordingly. And Vin? Din. Yes, Director? Try not to faint when Miss Vale inevitably volunteers for the most dangerous field assignments. I have a feeling it is going to become a pattern. The connection closed, leaving Vin alone with his thoughts in a lecture hall that suddenly seemed far too quiet. He looked back at the file on Earth one more time, scrolling past the endless lists of predators and natural disasters and extinction events, until he found a small note at the bottom of the document. Cultural note: humans have a saying, "What does not kill us makes us stronger." This philosophy appears to be deeply ingrained in their psychology and may explain their unusual approach to adversity. Vin thought about Harper's smile as she described mass extinctions, her enthusiasm about learning to survive in new environments, her casual dismissal of dangers that would terrify most beings. "What does not kill us makes us stronger," he said aloud to the empty room. Then he thought about what it must have taken to survive on Earth, to thrive there, to build a civilization in the face of constant, unrelenting hostility from the very planet beneath their feet. And he realized something that made his eye stalks curl in involuntary respect, and no small amount of fear. Humans were not just survivors. They were survivors from a world that had spent millions of years trying its absolute hardest to kill them. And they had won. Vin began preparing his notes for the next lecture, already planning how to adjust his curriculum. He had a feeling that this semester was going to be unlike any he had taught before. In fact, he suspected that by the end of it, the human students would not be learning from him. He would be learning from them. And that thought was somehow more terrifying than any Deathworld he had ever studied. 3 weeks later, Professor Vin stood in the equipment bay, checking his survival pack for the 5th time. Today was field exercise day, and he was already regretting every life choice that had led him to this moment. The exercise was supposed to be simple. Take the students to Theta 7, a nice, controlled, Class 3 environment. Moderate gravity, breathable atmosphere, a few harmless herbivores. Let them practice basic survival skills like shelter building, water purification, and navigation. Easy, safe, boring. Except Harper Vale had friends now. 3 other humans had enrolled in the academy after first contact protocols finished processing. Marcus Webb, tall and broad with dark skin and an unsettling habit of smiling at dangerous situations. Lily Santos, shorter and stocky, who had somehow convinced the quartermaster to give her extra rations by arm wrestling him. And Jin Park, quiet and observant, who had spent the first week cataloging every species in the academy and ranking them by theoretical combat effectiveness. Humans, Vin had learned, were social pack hunters. This was a problem. Professor. Harper bounced into the equipment bay, her 3 companions trailing behind her. "We are so excited. Our first field exercise." "Yes," Vin said carefully. "Please remember that this is a low-risk environment. The goal is to practice basic skills, not to seek out danger." "Of course," Harper said, her face the picture of innocence. Vin did not believe her for a second. The transport ship was cramped, filled with 40 students from various species, all chattering nervously about the upcoming exercise. The humans sat together near the back, talking in low voices and occasionally laughing in a way that made Vin's eye stalks twitch. Beside Vin sat Kessa, a Floraxian instructor who specialized in botanical survival. She was reviewing her notes, her feathery antennae twitching with concentration. "First time working with humans?" Vin asked. "Yes," Kessa said, not looking up. "I have read the files." "How concerned should I be? On a scale of 1 to 10? Vin considered. "Approximately 15. Kessa's antennae stopped moving. "That is higher than 10. "Yes." "Oh." The transport touched down on Theta 7 with barely a bump. The rear hatch opened, revealing a pleasant landscape of rolling hills covered in purple grass. 2 small suns hung in a yellow sky, providing gentle warmth. A light breeze carried the scent of something like flowers. "Beautiful," Kessa said, stepping out onto the grass. The students filed out, looking around with various expressions of wonder, nervousness, or in the case of the humans, mild disappointment. Okay, everyone, Vin announced, his voice amplified by his translator. Welcome to Theta 7. You will be divided into groups of 5. Each group will have 6 hours to establish a camp, locate a water source, and prepare one meal using only the standard survival kits provided. Instructors will be monitoring, but will not intervene unless there is an emergency. Are there any questions? Marcus raised his hand. Define emergency. Life-threatening situations, Vin said. Severe injury, dangerous wildlife encounters, that sort of thing. Cool, cool, Marcus said, nodding. Just wanted to clarify. The groups were assigned randomly by the computer. By sheer cosmic irony, or perhaps the universe's twisted sense of humor, all 4 humans ended up in different groups. Harper was placed with 2 Zentari, 1 plebe, and a Talaran. The Zentari, Rix and Vel, were already whimpering. The plebe, whose name was Dupe, had turned a concerning shade of gray. The Talaran, Shenna, at least seemed curious rather than terrified. "Hello, teammates," Harper said cheerfully. "Shall we get started?" "We are going to die," Rix said quietly. "Nobody is going to die," Harper said. "This is a Class 3 world. It is basically a vacation planet." "You think everything is a vacation planet," Vel pointed out. "Well, yes, compared to Earth. But seriously, look around. Gentle breeze, warm suns, soft grass. This is lovely. Now, let us find a good spot for camp. Somewhere near water, but not too close in case of flooding. High ground is usually good. Also, we should consider wind direction for the shelter opening." Sheena tilted her head. "You have done this before?" "Camping? Oh yeah, tons of times. My family used to go camping every summer. We would hike into the mountains, set up tents, cook over fires. It was great." "Mountains," Dupe repeated faintly. "You voluntarily went into elevated terrain for recreation?" "Sure. The views are amazing. Plus, the hiking is good exercise." Vin watched through his monitoring device as Harper led her group toward a small stream about a kilometer from the landing site. She moved with confidence, occasionally stopping to examine plants or check the ground. "She is treating this like a walk in the park," Kessa observed, watching her own screen. "For her, it probably is," Vin said. Meanwhile, Marcus's group was having a different experience. He had been paired with 3 aquatic hydros students and 1 insectoid vrix. They had immediately headed toward the stream, which made sense given that 3 of them needed regular water exposure. "Okay, so shelter," Marcus said, looking around. "We need something that works for everyone. You 3 need to stay wet, right?" The hydros students gurgled in agreement. "And you," Marcus looked at the vrix, "you need shade and protection from wind?" "Correct," the vrix clicked. "My exoskeleton is vulnerable to temperature fluctuations." Right. So we need something near the water with good shade and probably some kind of enclosed space." Marcus rubbed his chin. "I have an idea, but it is going to require some digging." "Digging?" one of the hydros asked. "Yeah, we are going to make a partially underground shelter. Thermal insulation, protection from elements, and we can route some water through it to keep you guys comfortable. It will be great." The vrix stared at him. "You want to excavate into the ground?" "Sure. Humans do it all the time. We have entire cities underground in some places. Well, partially underground. Subway systems, basements, bunkers, very practical." "Bunkers," the vrix repeated. "Why would you need bunkers?" Marcus paused. "You know what? Let us table that conversation for later. Right now, let us start digging." Vin watched as Marcus began enthusiastically excavating dirt with the small folding shovel from the survival kit. His teammates looked at each other in confusion, but slowly began to help. Lily's group had chosen a spot under a large tree-like plant with broad leaves. Her teammates included 2 plebe, 1 Floraxian, and a small, nervous Quillix who kept making squeaking noises. "Okay, team," Lily said, clapping her hands together. The sound made everyone jump. Sorry, human habit." Anyway, shelter first. Now, we could build something from scratch, but I am thinking we use that fallen log over there as a base. Prop up some branches, weave in some of these broad leaves for waterproofing, and boom, instant shelter. You want us to weave leaves? The Floraxian asked. Yeah, it is easy. Watch. Lily grabbed several of the broad leaves and began demonstrating a simple over-under pattern. Her hands moved quickly, creating a rough mat in under a minute. See? Waterproof, flexible, and it is all natural materials. Where did you learn this? One of the plebe asked. Summer camp when I was 12. We had to survive in the woods for 3 days with nothing but a knife and a water bottle. Built shelters, caught fish, the whole thing. Best week of my life. You were 12? The Quillick squeaked. Your caretakers sent children into the wilderness alone? Oh, there were counselors nearby, in case someone got hurt or lost. But yeah, basically we had to figure it out ourselves. Character building? The plebe had turned an even grayer shade of gray. Jin's group had taken a different approach. He had been paired with a Zentari, 2 Talaran, and a Vreeks. They had found a rocky outcropping and were setting up camp methodically. We should establish a perimeter, Jin said calmly, walking around their chosen site. Work the boundaries, identify potential hazards, set up clear sight lines. This is a safe world, one of the Talaran pointed out. There are no predators here. Well, there are no known predators here, Jin corrected. The planet is not fully surveyed. Better to be prepared. You are very cautious, the Zentari observed. I am very alive, Jin replied. Caution is why. On Earth, we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That seems stressful. The Vrix clicked, only if you are not prepared. Once you are ready for anything, it is actually quite relaxing. Vin switched between camera feeds, watching all 4 human groups. They were all succeeding, of course. The humans were taking to survival tasks like Floraxians took to flower pollination, natural and effortless. But that was not what concerned him. What concerned him was how their non-human teammates were reacting. They were learning, watching, adapting. The humans were not just completing the exercise. They were teaching. 3 hours into the exercise, Kessa's antennae suddenly shot straight up. Professor, we have a situation. Vin's eye stalk swiveled to her screen. What is it? What is it? Weather alert. There is a storm system moving in. Fast. How fast? It will hit in approximately 20 minutes. Wind speeds up to 60 kilometers per hour, heavy rain, possible lightning. Vin felt his thorax tighten. 60 kilometers per hour was not dangerous by human standards, but for many of the species present, it could be lethal. Plebe could be blown away. Floraxians could be damaged by heavy rain. Even the sturdier species would struggle. Activate emergency protocols, Vin said, to get the transport ready for immediate evac. Already on it, Kessa said, her fingers flying over her console. Vin opened the all-channel communication. Attention all students, this is Professor Vin. We have a weather emergency inbound. A storm will arrive in 20 minutes. Proceed immediately to the emergency rally point. I repeat, proceed immediately to the rally point. This is not a drill. On the screens, Vin watched chaos break out. Students began running toward the rally point, abandoning their camps. The instructors began coordinating, making sure no one was left behind, except the humans. None of them were running. Harper's group was moving, but calmly. She was talking to her teammates, pointing at their half-built shelter. Harper. Vin called through the communication channel. Did you hear the announcement? There is a storm coming. I heard, Professor. Harper's voice came back, remarkably cheerful. We are reinforcing the shelter. Should be done in 10 minutes. Reinforcing? No, you need to evacuate. In this? Harper looked up at the sky, where dark clouds were gathering. Professor, with all respect, this is like a level 2 storm at most. Maybe level 3. We will be fine. A level 2 storm? Vin felt faint. Yeah, you know, on the scale, light to moderate winds, some rain. We have built the shelter properly. It will hold. Shayna, the Talaran, spoke up. Professor, I think we should listen to Harper. She seems to know what she is doing. I assure you, I also know what I am doing, and I am saying evacuate. But Harper's group had already gone back to work, lashing branches together and piling rocks around the base of their shelter. Vin switched to Marcus's feed. Marcus, please tell me you are heading to the rally point. Sorry, Professor, but we are almost done with the shelter. It would be a shame to waste all this work. Plus, I dug this really great drainage system. I want to see if it works. Marcus, it will be fine. Trust me. Lily's group was also staying put, busily waterproofing their shelter with the woven leaf mats. Jin's group had actually improved their position, moving their supplies into a natural cave formation in the rocky outcropping. They are not evacuating, Kessa said, her voice tight with stress. I can see that, Vin said. Should we force them? Vin thought about it. The humans were clearly not concerned. Their teammates, while nervous, seemed to trust them. And if Vin was being honest with himself, the storm was not actually that dangerous. It was just dangerous by Academy standards. No, Vin said finally. Let them stay. But keep the transport ready, and if anything goes wrong, we go in immediately. The storm hit right on schedule. The wind picked up, bending the purple grass flat. Rain began to fall, heavy and cold. Lightning cracked across the sky. Inside the transport, the evacuated students huddled together, watching the screens showing the 4 human groups. Harper's shelter held perfectly. The group sat inside, dry and comfortable, while Harper pointed out features of the storm to her fascinated teammates. See how the lightning is cloud to cloud, Harper said. That means the storm is moving fast. Ground strikes would indicate it is settling in. And listen to the thunder. You can tell how far away the lightning is by counting the seconds between flash and sound. Light travels faster than sound, so the gap tells you the distance. That is actually fascinating, Shayna said, her earlier fear replaced by curiosity. Marcus's shelter was also performing well, the underground portion protecting them from the worst of the wind. Water was indeed flowing through his drainage system, and the 3 hydro students were practically glowing with happiness. This is amazing. One of them gurgled. The water flow is perfect, right? Marcus said proudly. I based the design on aqueducts, ancient human technology, simple but effective. Lily's group was actually enjoying themselves. The woven leaf roof was keeping out the rain, and Lily had started a small fire using the flint from the survival kit. How did you do that? The Floraxian asked, staring at the flames. Friction and tinder, Lily explained. Humans have been making fire for like 400,000 years. It is one of our oldest technologies. Want me to teach you? Jin's group had the best protection, sheltered in the cave. Jin had even posted a watch rotation, though Vin suspected it was more out of habit than necessity. This is actually quite pleasant, one of the Talaran said, watching the rain from the cave entrance. I was terrified at first, but Harper was right. This is not so bad. Humans have a different threshold for danger, Jin said. What seems extreme to you is normal to us. It is all about perspective. The storm lasted 40 minutes. When it passed, the suns came out again, and steam began to rise from the wet grass. Vin and Kessa watched as the 4 human groups emerged from their shelters, all intact, all smiling. They made it, Kessa said, sounding shocked. Of course they did, Vin said. He was not surprised anymore. The groups reconvened at the rally point. The evacuated students stared at the 4 human groups with a mixture of awe and confusion. That was fun, Harper said, wringing water out of her hair. Good team-building exercise, right, guys? Her teammates nodded. looking slightly dazed but unharmed. Fun, Rix repeated. You thought that was fun? Well, yeah, we stayed dry, the shelter held, and we got to experience an alien storm. That is pretty cool. Vin cleared his throat, all 4 eye stalks focusing on the humans. While I am glad you all survived, I must point out that you directly disobeyed an evacuation order. Technically, Jin said, you said to proceed to the rally point. You did not explicitly order us to abandon our shelters. That was implied. Was it though? Marcus asked. Because the exercise was about survival skills and we survived, using skills. Seems like we completed the objective. Vin opened his mouth, closed it, and then opened it again. No sound came out. Professor Harper said gently, I think maybe we need to talk about the difference between actual danger and perceived danger. For most species here, that storm was legitimately scary. For humans, it was, well, weather. We are not being reckless. We just have different parameters. Different parameters, Vin repeated. Right. Like if there had been a real threat, something actually dangerous, we would have evacuated. But rain and wind? That is just Tuesday on Earth. One of the plebe students raised a tentacle. What happens on Earth on the other days? Oh, you know, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, heat waves, floods, wildfires. The usual. The plebe fainted. It was becoming a very common occurrence around humans. Kessa stepped forward, her antennae twitching rapidly. I think what Professor Vin is trying to say is that while your skills are impressive, we need to find a way to calibrate our danger assessments. What is safe for you may not be safe for others. That is fair, Lily said. But also, maybe what is dangerous for others is not actually that dangerous if handled correctly. Like we kept our teammates safe. We shared our knowledge. Is that not what this academy is supposed to be about? Vin looked at the assembled students. The ones who had evacuated looked embarrassed. The ones who had stayed with the humans looked proud. And the humans looked like they were just getting started. All right, Vin said. New plan. We are going to run this exercise again, but this time the humans will act as advisors. They will teach the other students their survival techniques. We will treat them as, let us say, specialists from extreme environment backgrounds. Really? Harper's eyes lit up. Really, because clearly we have much to learn from you. And because I suspect that if I do not give you an official role, you will continue to improvise, and that terrifies me more than any storm. The humans grinned at each other. Can we teach them about fire starting? Lily asked. Yes. Shelter building in various terrains? Marcus added. Yes. Basic combat techniques? Jin asked. Absolutely not, Vin said quickly. We are not teaching combat. Why not? Jin asked. It is a survival skill. Because the insurance forms alone would take me 6 months to fill out. Fair enough. The exercise continued for another 3 hours. The humans rotated between groups, teaching fire starting, knot tying, water sourcing, and shelter reinforcement. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and even the most nervous students began to relax. Vin watched a plebe successfully start a fire using Lily's technique. He watched a Zentari build a weather-resistant shelter using Harper's design. He watched Jin teach a group of Floraxians how to read terrain for strategic advantages. They are natural teachers, Kessa observed. They genuinely want to help. Yes, Vin agreed. It is almost disturbing how good they are at this. As the suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the groups gathered for the final debrief. Everyone looked tired but satisfied. Several students were wearing improvised bracelets made from woven grass, apparently a human tradition Harper had taught them, before we returned to the academy. Vin said, I want to acknowledge what happened today. We had an unexpected weather event. Some of you evacuated, which was a reasonable response. Some of you sheltered in place, which was also, it turns out, a reasonable response. The difference was knowledge and experience. He paused, looking at the four humans. Our human students demonstrated skills that come from growing up in an environment that most of us cannot imagine. They did not show off. They did not take unnecessary risks. They used their knowledge to keep themselves and their teammates safe, and then they shared that knowledge with all of you. Professor Harper interrupted. Can I say something? Of course. I just want everyone to know that Earth being dangerous does not make humans special. It just makes us experienced in a specific way. Every species here has knowledge from their own worlds, things they find easy that we would struggle with. Like, the Hydro students can hold their breath for hours. The Vrix can calculate trajectories instinctively. The Floraxians can identify plant toxins by scent. We all have advantages. The point is not to compare. The point is to learn from each other. The students were silent for a moment. Then, slowly, a few began to make noises of agreement. The Talaran clicked their approval. The Zentari hummed. The plebe made a sound like water dripping. Well said. Miss Vale, Vin said quietly. Though I suspect you are being modest about your abilities. Maybe a little, Harper admitted with a grin. The transport ride back was different from the ride out. The students were animated, talking excitedly about what they had learned. The humans sat together again, but now they were surrounded by other students asking questions, sharing stories, making friends. Vin sat next to Kessa, updating his reports. You know, Kessa said, when I first read that humans came from a death world, I thought it would be a problem. And now? Now I think it might be the best thing that ever happened to this academy. They are pushing us, making us rethink what we thought we knew about survival, about danger, about adaptation. It is uncomfortable, but it is growth. Vin looked at Harper, who was demonstrating some kind of hand coordination game with a group of fascinated Zentari. You are right, though I suspect this is only the beginning. What do you mean? Humans are here now, in the Federation, in our schools. Soon they will be in our workforce, our governments, our exploration teams. They will bring their perspectives, their resilience, their absolutely terrifying competence. The galaxy is going to change. Is that a bad thing? Vin considered the question carefully. No, he said finally. No, I do not think it is. But it is certainly going to be interesting. Back at the academy, as the students filed off the transport, Director Kalos was waiting. He approached Vin with what passed for a smile on his species. I heard about the storm, Kalos said. And I heard the humans stayed put. They did. And they were fine, more than fine. They thrived, and they taught the others to thrive too. Kalos nodded. Good. That is exactly what I hoped would happen. Humans, Professor Vin, are going to be excellent for the Federation. They have survived the unsurvivable. They have adapted to the unadaptable. And now they are here to show us how. You planned this, Vin said. You knew this would happen. I suspected, Kalos corrected. When a species survives a Class 12 death world, they do not do it by accident. They do it with intelligence, cooperation, and innovation. Those are exactly the traits we need. Vin watched as Harper and her friends walked toward the dormitories, laughing about something. You know what the strangest thing is? Vin said. Well, what? They do not think they are special. They genuinely believe that any species could do what they do, given the right circumstances. They have survived horrors that would break most civilizations, and they think it is normal. Perhaps that is what makes them special, Kalos said. Not that they survived, but that they never stopped believing others could too. Later that night, Vin sat in his office, reviewing footage from the exercise. He watched Harper teaching shelter building, Marcus explaining drainage systems, Lily demonstrating fire starting, Jin organizing defensive perimeters. And he watched the other students learning, growing, adapting. His data pad chimed. A message from the Federation Science Council. They wanted a full report on the human students. They wanted to know if humans were a threat. Vin thought about Harper's smile when she talked about mass extinctions, Marcus's enthusiasm for building bunkers, Lily's casual mention of childhood survival training, Jin's instinctive combat assessments, and he thought about a species that had been tested by their planet for millions of years and had not just survived but had flourished, that had turned adversity into advantage, danger into opportunity, and terror into normalcy. Were humans a threat? Vin began typing his response. No, he wrote. Humans are not a threat. They are an opportunity. They bring knowledge gained from surviving the impossible. They bring resilience tested by the harshest conditions. They bring innovation born from necessity. Yes, they can be frightening. Yes, they make us question our assumptions. But they also make us better. He paused, then added one final line. The real question is not whether humans are a threat to the Federation. The question is whether the Federation is ready to learn from them. Vin sent the message and leaned back in his chair. Through his window, he could see the Academy grounds, illuminated by the station's artificial lights. Somewhere out there, 4 humans were probably not sleeping, probably planning their next adventure, probably finding new ways to terrify and inspire their classmates. And Vin found himself smiling. Because for the first time in his 30 years of teaching, he was genuinely excited about what tomorrow would bring, even if it would probably involve multiple students fainting. The galaxy had just gotten a lot more interesting. And it was all thanks to 4 beings from a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill them. A planet called Earth. A Deathworld. Home.